Hey guys, welcome to another video. Thank you so much for those of you who have been watching my videos. So today I really want to share with you my thoughts about getting a degree in graphic design as opposed to not going to school and starting freelance right off the bat. This is something that I have very mixed feelings about. Originally, when I chose to go to a school or go to college for graphic design, I really wanted to learn. I didn't know anything about graphic design. I wanted to start from scratch. If you're like me and I didn't know anything about what I was going to do, now I was artistic. I did draw, I did paint, as you guys will know from my very first video that I posted. I was very artistic in general, but I didn't know anything about graphic design as I just shared. So because of that, choosing to formally go to school is really expensive. That's really expensive for something that I wasn't positive I was going to do. Now, I'm so grateful to God that I was able to continue doing that I ended up doing really well and really enjoying it. But I will say that should be a hesitation for any of you that are considering it. Now, I was so overwhelmed, I was so scared. So right off the bat, that's some of my cons that I would say. Don't go to school, or maybe just be wary of going to school if you were like me. My next point, why I was happy that I did formal schooling. For one, there was positive competition. What I mean by this is, and especially if you're an artist, you'll understand, it is so important to have a healthy amount of competition to challenge you. Without that challenge, it would have been, I don't think I would have been where I was now. At the same time, I definitely compared myself a lot, and I don't think that was a good thing. And the second thing I would say is it provided a lot of building blocks for me. Again, like I said, I hadn't had any education, so being able to take foundational drawing classes, or a couple drawing classes, as well as learning how to illustrate and learning typography, taking different classes for those specific things, and all of the foundation classes that we had to take, I learned so much about art. I learned so much about it in general that I think it really fueled my ability to design. A lot of people like to think that graphic design is all technical, and that always bothers me. Whenever I hear people say that, it's always like, so do you do any drawing? Is it all on the computer? And I understand it comes from a place of, and this is the best word that I can think of, ignorance. They don't know. And there's plenty of jobs that I am very ignorant about. And so I need to have some grace when I get those questions, but I will tell you right off the bat, there is a lot of physical work that goes into it. Especially as someone who's an illustrator or likes to illustrate, a lot of that gets done before I even put it on the computer. Now, I have gotten to the point where I've gotten good enough that I can actually just illustrate on the computer directly. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes I have to revert back to pencil and paper or my iPad and a pen, to whatever it is that helps me get the best work that I can for my client. So I would definitely say getting those building blocks was really awesome. It was super helpful, and it taught me a lot. I think I've definitely grown exponentially since I was even 18. Another positive is that we had teachers available, not 24/7, but kind of. I could email my teacher, I could meet with them directly, I could talk to them in class. Things like that were really awesome and really helpful, because if I was struggling and I was looking at a logo way too long, I have been working on this logo for who knows how long, and I'm just staring at it, I can't really see clearly. And a lot of the times you can't see your own work very clearly. And so being able to get somebody else's perspective, someone who is an educator and knows how to share about their thoughts and knows how to critique, that was really helpful. I would say, as for cons, that's my next point. Our very first graphic design class, our teacher just had us watch videos to learn things. I don't have to pay thousands of dollars to watch a video. That was really frustrating. That was something that really made me mad, even as a freshman, being like, why is my teacher not here just telling me how to do things? Like, I'm literally having to just Google and Google and Google. And while learning on my own like that did help me grow a lot in certain aspects, it really felt like I was paying myself to teach myself. And by the time we got to our senior year, my whole class, there were things, we had holes in our education, areas that were really difficult to figure out, and we had to figure it all out before our senior show, and learning things that we should have learned a long time ago. And our teacher was not very gracious with us at all. That was really hard for me, trying to be a light, trying to be gracious in a place where our teacher, who should have been our biggest encourager, someone who is absolutely allowed to critique, but the way that he critiqued was incredibly thoughtless and insensitive and inappropriate at times. You don't know what kind of teachers you're gonna get. I had a teacher who basically told us, I don't give out A's. I don't do that. Unless you get a job before school ends, I'm not gonna give you an A. And so that's another thing why I would say it's a really big con, at least for me and at least for the school that I went to. You can get discouraged really easily. That's my third point, is you're constantly being compared to other people and comparing yourself to other people. You look at their work and you're like, oh my goodness. Me at the time, who had 3 jobs at one point, 3 different jobs. I was teaching a Bible study, and I was teaching at like 2 Bible studies. I had 3 different jobs. I was taking 15 credits, which a lot of people are like, oh, that's not a lot. It's a lot when you're doing graphic design, because those classes are 2 to 3 hours long. So it's not just a few classes, and they were a lot of work. It would take hours to get a project done. I was doing all of that, and then I had to do the very best that I could, and yet I was comparing myself to other people who were better with their time. I do not blame those people. I think they were wiser than I was. I definitely cared a little bit too much about what people thought, but it can be really discouraging because you want to compare yourself. You want to look at other people's work and say, oh, why am I not there? And that was a really big stressor. I don't mean that to discourage anyone, and I do want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on that. I think going to school is awesome, and it really depends on the school that you choose. So make sure you look at multiple schools. I looked at one and I kind of regret that a little bit. At the end of the day, I'm really glad I got formal training, and the reason being is that I can say I got a degree in it. That helps me get paid more, that helps me get more clients, things like that. And I'll talk about that as I talk about the pros and cons of skipping school. So if you choose not to get formal training, and you just want to start right off the bat, right out of high school, you're like, I am ready to become a graphic designer. The pros are you're allowed to make mistakes, and you can make mistakes without too many consequences. Now, there are some reservations with that, I'm sure, but what I mean by that is you're not going to get a grade. You're not going to get graded on something. And so there is a pro to that, in the sense that you can just go crazy, and if you have a video that doesn't blow up, practice, keep going, keep doing it, keep trying. That's awesome. You aren't constantly comparing yourself to your peers. Just like me, I was constantly comparing myself. And I do think in some sense, if you are not going to school, you are still comparing yourself to your peers in some sense. That you didn't have specific people that you were constantly going to school with, constantly seeing every single day, that you were like, oh, I want to be like them, I want their work. It was more so you would see people on social media, and I think that that definitely is a pro. You also can start right away. The awesome part about being able to make mistakes, being able to just test things out, test the waters, is you can just start. I didn't really start until probably my end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year of college. That's when I started to really experiment. Some of the cons, I would say, is you might have some bad habits formed. There may be certain things that you're doing wrong, or that you don't know, or that you're just teaching yourself. If you don't have a formal education, you don't have a teacher that's telling you, oh, actually, this is the better way to do it. You also don't have a degree to back up your work. I personally am a believer in your work speaks for itself. It doesn't matter, the education that you get or anything, but people do look at that. And if you are looking to work corporately, or you are looking to attract a specific type of client, they may wonder about your degree and they may want to know, oh, this person knows what they're doing. Another con would be you don't get immediate help except from Google. So you can Google as much as you want. But like I said earlier, I kind of wish my school had done this better, but I think a teacher is there to help you get things started, get things going, and if you ever have questions, you can go to them instead of resorting to Googling it and finding multiple different variations to do something and getting overwhelmed. That can happen. People also may expect to pay less, and I think people will in general because a lot of people don't respect art. It's really frustrating. It can be very hurtful because it's like, what you see is this logo and the branding package and whatever, and that's what you think of when you think of graphic design, but you don't realize the hours and hours of time it takes to produce content, to produce, to do the research, to do the sketching, all of the things that go behind the scenes. You have no idea how long that takes. It takes a very long time. I can attest to that. And then finally, you don't have any healthy competition. And you, like I said, you can compare yourself to social media. You can look at other things and think, oh, I want to reach that level, but it wasn't quite, oh, there's multiple of us being compared literally in class. Our work is just being put up. We're doing all of these things and everyone can see it. You don't really get that so much when you're by yourself and you don't have other people encouraging you. Those are all of my thoughts. That is some of my advice and just the experience that I went through choosing to get formal schooling. Thank you so much for watching, and please comment below if you have any other videos you would like me to come out with, if you have any ideas, and follow me on Instagram and check out my website. Bye guys.